You are welcome into the second hour of Daisha today. It's Maria in for Damien. He's going to be back with you in the morning. Good morning, Maria, says this texter. Those courses are brilliant. This is the springboard courses. So you can go back to school as a mature student or back to college as a mature student. I mean, I left school 45 years ago with the junior cert and had to find a job. Went back to do the equivalent of leaving cert in 2017. It was the best decision ever. Really enjoyed it. I think you make more, you kind of appreciate it more a little bit maybe if you end up having to go back to it because you want to go back to it, other than your parents are going, you have to go to college, or you have to go to college for this job that you think you want, and then maybe you get to college and you don't want that job at all and you hate the course that you're on. So you can, well done to anyone who makes the decision. Now I'm joined in studio by our man in sport, Gavin Whelan. Good morning, Gavin.
Morning, Maria. How are things?
I'm good, thanks, but bitter disappointment for Ballygunner and Ballysaggart.
Yeah, they won't be so good, I suppose, feeling so well this morning, and probably take, I suppose, Ballygunner a good while to get over their narrow defeat, real gut-wrenching defeat against Boris Salee as their bid for back-to-back Munster hurling titles in the senior grade just came up short. Real battle kind of attrition and difficult conditions in Páirc Uí Rinn yesterday. Rain kind of teaming down made it difficult for both teams, and I know Ballygunner won't be using that as an excuse. It was the same for both teams, but perhaps maybe the short passing game, maybe that Ballygunner play, maybe it wasn't as free-flowing yesterday in those conditions. Boris Salee brought a lot of energy and a lot of physicality to the table, which was a big factor. 112 to 111 number. It could have went either way. It was such a titanic tussle, particularly going down the home straight. Barry O'Sullivan, of course, got that goal to put Ballygunner back in the ascendancy after Kieran Marr's goal before that for Boris. But Brendan Marr yesterday, I think you talk about one of the all-time great performances and leaders and guys stepping up to the plate. He was immense for Boris Salee yesterday. Really thundered into the game, took frees. It wasn't an easy day for free taking yesterday, and really drove them on. Dan McCormack, absolutely immense as well. Jerry Kelly, their full forward, and Niall Kenny at centre forward. Down the middle, I think the spine of their team, very, very strong, and they just held out in the end. Two late frees there from Brendan Marr, so 112 to 111. Ballygunner lost Peter Hogan due to injury as well. Reoccurrence of a knee injury. He was a big loss when he went off, and just couldn't muster that equaliser near the end. So it's hard to take. It's their 9th Munster final loss, which is kind of hard to believe. They've been knocking on the door the last couple of years, so close to doing 2 in a row, just came up short. So commiserations, but it's a great story. Boris Salee, I know they'd a lot of tragedies in that village in Tipperary this year, and hurling is kind of, it's like a religion down there, and Brendan Marr alluded to afterwards, a lot of the times that they visited were kind of mourning people. Yesterday was one of those happy occasions, so it's a nice story too, and they're playing the Munster All-Ireland semi-final on the 5th of January, so Paddy Stapleton was talking after saying the next 2 weeks is going to be like Christmas at Boris Salee because they won't be able to really enjoy Christmas with gearing up for an All-Ireland semi. But hard luck to Ballygunner, and they will be back stronger, there's no doubt about that. They have the talent. As you mentioned, Ballysaggart as well, Maria beaten by Father O'Neill's in the Munster Intermediate final. Great occasion for our field yesterday. 15 to 17 points. The goals, I suppose, proven crucial there. Declan Dalton with the second for the formidable Cork side, who were trained by former Waterford hurler Lismore man James O'Connor. But Ballysaggart, again, like a brilliant season. Small rural community, great heart, great determination. Left everything on the field yesterday, and probably needed that goal to go in if they wanted to get that out of it, but just unfortunately didn't arrive. But a brave and battling performance. 2-15 to 17. We'll get reaction on both those games on our On The Ball show this evening. Big well done to St Mary's as well. Maria, on Saturday, the Tornina side, who are the last Waterford club standing, of course. They're qualified for the Munster Junior final. They beat Carrick Davins of Tipperary by 13 to 14 points up there in Clonmel on Saturday. I know there was a real rapturous Tornina support up there. They really kind of made plenty of noise, and they're going to be taking on Russell Rovers of Cork in Mallow on the 8th of December. So disappointing weekend for Ballygunner and Ballysaggart, but St Mary's will all be behind them now on the head of the 8th of December.
Nice text here. Can you thank all the Waterford supporters who turned up to support Ballysaggart yesterday in their Munster final? While we came up just short, we are so proud of everyone in our great little club. There was no fair weather supporters out in that weather yesterday. If you were hardcore, if you're going to turn up in the weather that was yesterday, you're hardcore and a proper supporter, aren't you?
Absolutely, definitely. And Ballysaggart loved their hurling up there, and I know West Waterford and a lot of Waterford got behind Ballysaggart, and then obviously Ballygunner. It was probably a pity both games were clashing, but I know there was a great crowd in Fairfield yesterday, and Ballysaggart, a really kind of popular club with the Bennetts and such family and rich tradition there. And we'll be hearing from Adrian Marr, their manager and chairman Seamus Kearney, who, while disappointed, when you look back on it, they're senior hurling for the first time ever in their history next season, not picking from a massive pool of players. I think a population of just under 300. I think somebody said 90 houses, I think, up there. Like it's phenomenal. It's a great story, and I suppose, GA, community ethos, it brings everyone together, and they're really really proud of their parish and their area. So well done to Ballysaggart. Saggart on a great season. Maria?
High drama in the Premier League.
Yeah, indeed. If you say so, we'll start with Manchester United and Sheffield United. Yesterday, of course, 3-3, a brilliant game. I was kind of watching it here in the open plan yesterday, and kind of, me now getting excited and kicking every ball. But they were 2-0 up, Sheffield United, and then United came roaring back into it. Their youngsters really, Greenwood was amongst the scorer, and Rashford then put him 3-2 up, and then you had that late equaliser from Sheffield United. It went to VAR, and then it was given. So VAR is kind of causing a lot of controversy. It was used a lot over the weekend, but look, I think it is good. You have to go with the technology, don't you? That's the world we live in. 3-3. United will probably be, pleased enough to get the point, but the fact they were 3-2 up will probably be disappointed to lose. There is one game tonight, West Ham, Aston Villa, I should say, taking on Newcastle. Liverpool remain 8 points clear. The Reds beat Crystal Palace over the weekend, of course. Sadio Mane with his 12th of the season. Man City did win the weekend. They bet Chelsea, of course, in the evening game by 2-1. Kevin De Bruyne and Riyad Mahrez with the goals there. And Jose Mourinho marked his return to the Premier League the weekend with a win. Spurs, of course, they beat West Ham. He's the new Spurs manager, 3-2 at the
really
London Stadium.
13 million a year?
Yeah. Is that what it is now? Is it? Yeah, that's what he's.
I don't know. That's what I heard. I just
misheard. Replaced Maurizio Pochettino, of course, who was sacked, and there was a lot of controversy about that from the Spurs fans during the week. But I think, look, Mourinho's in there now. He's in there to do a job, and I'm sure he's going to bring his experience to the table as well. So that was the soccer action the weekend. Well done to the Waterford youths team as well. Had a good win yesterday in the league trophy. They were 4-0 victors over Kilkenny. So a lot of good work going on underage. I know a lot of the local games were the weather kind of fell victim to the postponement of a lot of fixtures, I think, over the weekend, pitches and that, Maria. So overall a busy weekend.
And rugby
then finally, mixed weekend, I suppose, for the Irish provinces. Starting with Munster, that was a really entertaining game. A draw with Racing 92, 21 points apiece. A great atmosphere in Thomond Park. It's one of those great grounds that, when you have the red flags going there, and it kind of encapsulates everyone. Keith Earls and Andrew Conway both scoring tries. JJ Hanrahan with the conversion as well, and 3 penalties, and had a late chance with a drop goal near the end to win it. Racing, of course, had Donica Ryan and Simon Zebo, 2 former Munster players, back against their former teammates. So they got a fairly hostile reception. You know what I mean? There was no kind of, you're not getting that ball easy, you're not running away, lads, from us. But you expect that, I suppose, don't you? Your body's on the line stuff. But Munster have a draw and a win from their opening 2 games. They will be happy. Facts a home game, probably disappointed not to get the victory. But I think honours even, probably a fair result in the end. Leinster had a win over Lyon in their clash in France. Connacht were beaten away to Toulouse 32-17. Conceded a lot of penalties there, so indiscipline a big factor there. And on the local front, big well done to Water Park and Dungarvan, who both recorded wins in the Munster Junior League in Divisions 1 and 2 yesterday. Water Park with a hard fought win, and Dungarvan had a big win as well at home yesterday, racked up 45 points in the conditions. So overall a busy weekend. We'll reflect on it all on the ball this evening. We'll have Owen Murphy, former Waterford All-Star, looking back at the Ballygunner game. We'll have Adrian Marr and Seamus Carney of Ballysaggart, Johan Van Grand, the Munster manager, as well, and we'll also look back at that busy weekend cross channel in the Premier League. So I hope you can join us from 6:10 or thereabouts, anyway. After 6 o'clock. I'm just trying to think of
Thanks, Gavin.
No bother, pleasure, Maria, as always.
That's Gavin Whelan, of course, our sports guy, the guy who knows everything there is to know. And don't forget and listen into that programme this evening. Now, parking is what we're going to talk about next, because I have on the line Glenn Sheridan. You're welcome back to the programme, Glenn.
Morning, Maria. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Just something that you tweeted this morning that we thought was interesting about the parking signs. These are the kind of electronic parking information signs, and they don't seem to be working.
Yeah, no, as a retailer, I don't want to get the conversation going about parking as in costs and all that. That's not what it's about. I suppose I was in town yesterday with the family, and the car park signage that we have in the city is very, very useful, especially on a Winterville, the first weekend of Winterville. And none of the car park signs, the council indicating signs, were actually working, which meant, I suppose, that it's very difficult to plan your journey and where car parks are open. So that means the one that I saw, particularly with the first one I tweeted, was the one from the Manor. But all the ones, none of them were working along the quay yesterday or City Square, which, if you have a family and you want to get in, it was raining yesterday, probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock, trying to get in, get parking and convenience. And look, the way from the business community, I suppose we want people to get convenience, efficiency, get in, get parked, and less time in their car, more time as they're in around the city. So now I have to say, I do find the council Twitter account very active and very responsive. If we have an incident in the city and I can't get through to a number, sometimes if I tweet, it's more, I'm not tweeting as a little bit as a rant. I won't say it's not a rant, but sometimes it's actually just say, guys, do you know the signage is not working? So they have.
And is it normally working on a Sunday, Glenn?
Oh, they should. Yeah, they should. They're not working again this morning now, so it's obviously there's an issue with it. None of the signage are working again today. So,
okay.
But they should work every day. I mean, the council car parks, their own car parks, are free on Sundays. I might as well get the plug in for that. But which
is great.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. But and the signage doesn't reflect those ones as such, as in the Sergeant's Lane. But the Miller's Marsh would normally be on it, Bolton Street, but I mean City Square's signage from the one outside the GPO, that wasn't working yesterday, and the Keys car parks wasn't working as well. So I don't know if anyone else was just frustrated by it. You just don't know if is a car park full as such. If you can't, sometimes you can't see, particularly City Square. You can't judge from the outside if it's full or what the story is or how long the queue is going to be or how long it's going to be. So just an observation, as I said. I mean, another few years ago they did introduce the park and ride and that type of thing, towards the peak, and that just that, let's make sure it's fixed for this weekend, and that alternative signage is put up, or maybe they can hire signage or something just to direct people, because if you have a family in the car and it's lashing rain, it's not always fun to be stuck in the car, so we want to get people in and out of the city centre as quick as we can and get them parked.
And am I right in saying that is there going to be free parking after 4 or something, or did I dream
on
that?
On Fridays after 5, yeah. There's if actually people log on to the Waterford City Centre Facebook page, we'll have information with the Waterford Business Group. We'll have information from that and the council themselves. So yeah, the council have come on board, and the Waterford Port as well. Their car parks. There's 2 of their car parks on the quays. We'll have free parking after 5 on Fridays. Which look, it's a start. It's 4 hours.
I was going to say, not wanting to appear ungrateful or anything,
absolutely,
but what is the point of after 5?
I've said this conversation is not about costs. It's not about I'm just thought that really the tweet was just about signage and efficiencies and get people in and out and just the practicality of it. But no, I mean any gesture by a business or even by the council regarding parking is welcome, and so it's free. And I know people say it should be free this and other places are doing that. This is a start, so we'll have to we have to start somewhere. So
I know you don't want to talk about parking in general, but I think people think it's worse than it actually is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sometimes it's the first thing. It's a flippant remark. It's the first thing about it, and sometimes you can come in and experience the city. You can come in and experience Winterville for an hour or 2 hours. I mean, I parked on the quay yesterday I did pay on the pay car parks, but I was in with the family for about 2.5, 3 hours, and I think it was €4. Now it was worth it to me. I parked right in the heart of the city centre. As to get lads out of the car in the rain, no problem. And I was happy enough to pay the €4. To be honest with you, some people mightn't be happy. I thought for the entertainment we got for the afternoon, strolling around the city, the atmosphere, it was worth €4.
Yeah, no, I think to be fair to the council in particular, they get a bad rap and they get blamed for parking that isn't their fault. And
and I'm sure the show is going to be filled with messages after this about parking, I suppose. All I'd say to people about, if they're making a decision to shop local this Christmas in the city centre, please do not let parking be the decision maker, because, there's I'm always harping on about local businesses, but the family's community, the city centre relies on local trade, and don't make the decision on a parking fee going to decide whether a business is going to trade for Christmas or not.
I think there's nothing like, I mean, I know everyone's all into all this online stuff and everything, but I think to go into a shop and to know that you can go back to that shop with something, and if there's any issues, where the shop is, I think you can't beat it, really.
Yeah, and I'm not going to dictate to anybody, but I think people will rely on their own experiences, and that's a genuine experience that people people have bought stuff online that have been very happy with. They've also bought stuff online probably that should I try that on, or these didn't fit, or whatever it is, and it's not what I thought it was. But at least you're getting the expertise, you're getting hopefully the personality and the customer service. And I've always said it, if you can get the service and the standard and the value in Waterford, why are you shopping anywhere else? That's got to be the key message. And the businesses have to give both of those. Businesses have to give fantastic customer service. If you're not giving the service, then don't expect customers to purchase from you. And the same way, present your product well, and the value of it. If you can add the value, or I understand there's overheads and everything else, but where we can match those and give that 5-star service, then you're not giving anyone a reason to shop anywhere else.
Glenn, thanks as always.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks very much.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's Glenn Sheridan there. He manages the Tommy Hilfiger shop there on Barron Strand Street. I'm going to take another break. 083 333 975 for your texts. 051 846 123 for your phone calls back after these. You are welcome back to the programme. It's Maria in for Damien. He'll be back with you tomorrow on gift cards. This texter says, I know someone that got a gift card in a card one Christmas for a place they don't go into. They threw it in a drawer for a few months, forgetting all about it. It was coming up to the birthday of the person that gave it to them in the first place, and the person that got it, forgetting who gave it to them, put it in the card for them, so gave it back. Regifting, I think they call that. And you should be very careful about it, because I personally don't remember what I ever gave anyone in anything. just don't remember, because I can't remember what I did yesterday. But I think, a lot of people do. I don't have a problem with regifting. I think it's, if you have something that maybe you're not going to use and you think somebody else might get some pleasure out of it, maybe just not to the person that gave it to you in the first place, who maybe chose it with love and affection, thinking that you'd love it and you don't really want it and you give it away. Tell that lady that asked about courses to check the WWETB online for courses or to give them a call. So you could try that. I had a 5-year-old voucher for the Holy Cross pub, went there last week and it was honoured in full. Well done to the Holy Cross. That's from Tom in Tramore. I think if you've any kind of if you have any kind of a business and a PR brain, that if somebody comes in with a voucher, that you would honour it. Now, if it's a voucher for a 3-course meal, worth 20 quid that is now worth 50 quid or something because you didn't use it in the 10 years since you got it, that's a different kettle of fish. But any kind of voucher with a money value, I think they should always be honoured. It's ridiculous that they were ever let away with going, well, it's expired. No, it hasn't. Did my money expire that you took like 10 months ago off me? No, it didn't. You have my money for 10 months and now I want the value of it. And thanks very much for your opinion. Let's have you on 083 3333 975. Now, I found this study very interesting. It was a study carried out by Safe Ireland. And it was very interesting stats that it showed up. Could you think that younger people would all be about, the man is the head of the household is so old-fashioned, like who only fossils would think like that anymore? Well, a surprising number of young people do. Over a quarter of young men, 27% of young men aged between 16 and 25, believe that a man should act as head of the household, while 25% of all under 25s believe men should earn most of the money to support a family. That's just one of the surprising stats that I'm going to talk about now, and I have on the line to discuss it with me Jack Deacon from spunout.ie. You're very welcome to the programme, Jack.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Were you surprised at the findings of this? Because I was.
Yeah, the findings were surprising. I guess the views of a lot of young people under 25 a bit more rigid or traditional than we might have expected when it comes to the kind of topic of gender equality. They were kind of surprising to see that kind of level. I mean, the stats weren't overly different than the general population, but there was a trend that young people were slightly more rigid or traditional in their views.
And where is that coming from, do you think?
There's kind of a number of places it might be coming from. What we kind of see from the numbers is that both over 65s and under 25s both skew more traditional. Now, that might indicate that the views are kind of coming down from parents or from older role models down to young people in traditional views as well. I suppose it was, if we look at the other side of it, it was kind of positive to see that almost 4 in 5 said that gender wasn't or shouldn't be considered a factor when it comes to the head of the household. So there was that other side of the piece as well, which was positive.
And young women regard lad culture as a big issue, but older men, who were all parents themselves, regard it as just natural, jostling and bravado and nothing to be taken that seriously.
Yeah, and it is still very much alive and well, lad culture. And when we're talking about lad culture, we're talking about locker room talk, women being touched inappropriately on nights out, and we can just look at the WhatsApp messages from the Belfast rape trial last year to just kind of get to kind of define what we're talking about when we say lad culture. It's still a big issue. It's definitely, the report has definitely shown that it's still alive and well, and it's still an issue, especially for women. And we see in the report that participants said that as young women said that they'd almost expect not to have full respect, which is really disappointing. For us, it's kind of a piece around, we know that kind of everyday negative or sexist behaviour within men can grow into more extreme negative or sexist behaviour, especially with young men in their relationships with women and their views on women as well. But
sometimes it is just a bit of crack and you don't mean to offend anyone and you wouldn't dream of taking it further.
But as I said, it's that everyday piece that can transform into more extreme pieces, and it's calling it a bit of crack or a bit of banter that can really make it much more casual and much more accepted. And we see that within kind of older men calling it natural jostling and bravado. We see older women, all parents within this survey, kind of saying that they're minimising it as well.
Do you think that's, though, sorry to cut across you, Jack, but do you think that that's a generational thing, or do you think that as you get older you become not so entrenched in one thing or the other, that you realise that there's many different shades of things, and you know the intent is quite important when somebody's doing things like that?
Well, what we see from this is that if a younger male has certain traditional views or negative views, that they actually worsen as they get older. And as I said, the kind of everyday moves into the more extreme. We do see that, and from this report, it does show that as well, and that it moves a bit more extreme in terms of the views on women. But it's about the lad culture, and it's about it not being casualised or not being made. Not taking or minimising from the harm that it can cause. As well, it has an impact on men as well, in that culture, that it discourages men about discussing their mental health, discussing their emotions. It's all within that same culture.
And is the point here to maybe get to the stage where people will call each other out on this behaviour?
That's it. We're kind of calling on young men to call out other people within their peer group on any sexist or misogynistic or homophobic, racist language or actions or behaviour, because it's not acceptable, really. And there has been some progress made, as we see, but we're not there yet with it. And it's really about making sure that the negative behaviour stops at the everyday and doesn't progress into more extreme behaviour actions.
Did you kind of wonder, because there's so much about this these days, that I find the stats quite surprising for that reason alone, because this is spoken about so much. This isn't back in the day when it was just accepted that men behaved in a particular way and women, even in this in this study, it's shown that there was a surprising amount of both men and women who believe that if a woman is a victim of domestic violence, she might have invited it on herself in some way by behaving in a particular way, which is quite shocking. But do you think that it's just kind of human nature in a way?
No, I don't think we should consider it that way. Those were kind of shocking statements to see that 1 in 7 women saying that they kind of are, as you say, kind of inviting it on. I don't think that's a positive piece. I don't think it should be considered human nature. I think it's an issue that can be tackled and should be tackled. We have the Safe Ireland conference today in Mayo, kind of talking about this, and it's not just the issue of domestic abuse that they might be tackling or lad culture. Talking about more coercive control, where all that starts in a more controlling, kind of stalking. It doesn't just start with physical abuse. It starts with controlling text messages, controlling behaviour, controlling finances. So it starts at that level. That's it's very hard to spot and visible, but it can progress. So I don't think we should consider it just like human nature. I think it is an issue that we need to tackle head on. Okay, Jack, thanks for talking to me this morning. Thank you very much. See you, bye-bye. That's Jack Deacon from spunout.ie there. I don't know if you agree with me and you find those stats very interesting and where they're coming from. I mean, you heard what Jack had to say there. You'd imagine that these days that we know a young person, be 2%, like even 10%, but 27% believing that is quite a high stat. I find it quite fascinating either, and I'm just trying to come up with a reason why that is. I don't know. Let's have your thoughts. 083 3333 975. That is how you get in touch, or you can call 051 846 123. The thing I was going to tell you about the
the TDs and their salaries and everything. This was in the Business Post yesterday. It was in a piece written by Aidan Corkery, and it was on foot of a Freedom of Information request by Sinn Féin TD Owen O'Brien. And it's one of the people, it states, is former Fianna Fáil TD Billy Kelleher, and he's received 173,000 in pension payments so far this year, despite also receiving a European Parliament salary of 105,000. This according to this report. He's 51 years of age. He left the Dáil last May, and we're not saying that he did anything wrong here. He availed of a system that was open to him. It's subsequently changed, but he won a seat in Brussels. He got €151,918 in a pension lump sum from the Oireachtas. He's also received €21,170 in ongoing pension payments so far this year, following his 22-year Dáil career. And he's entitled to claim this, as I said, because he qualifies for an older Oireachtas pension scheme, which allows TDs to claim the payment from the age of just 50. And, you know, fair play to him if there was a system in place to allow him to do that. Nobody has any issue with that. Other people who got some money, there's in total approximately 440 former TDs and senators who were paid 79 million in annual pension payments over the last 6 years. You could do a lot with that money too. This figure is separate to their pension lump sums. Former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern, for example, he got a TD's pension of 53,291 last year. This is separate to his combined ministerial and Taoiseach's pension, which is estimated to be worth in the region of 81,000 a year. Now, I don't know if any of you are listening, and I'm pretty sure that if you are in receipt of a pension that isn't like part of a private pension, if you like, but that if you're stuck for money and you have to get maybe a state pension, that you have to choose. You can't get them all just because you could be disabled and an old person as well, and you could have a widow. I stand to be corrected here, but I'm almost entirely sure that you'll get the whichever one of those pensions is the most. You won't be able to get all of them, but I stand to be corrected on that. But that is a fine amount of money, and as I said, they did change that. They did change that system that Billy Kelleher was able to avail of that, and no issue with him availing of it. I think I would too if I was in his position. A nice position to be in for sure. 083 333 975 is how you get in touch, or you can call 0518 46123. I shall return. You are welcome back to the programme. Now, did you ever have one of those CSO survey collectors call to your house and wonder afterwards, what do they do with all the information that they're after gathering about me? Brian Ring works for the Central Statistics Office. Brian, good morning.
Good morning.
Why are these household surveys that the CSO carry out important?
I would say to you that they're particularly important for all of us because the statistics and the evidence that we supply to policymakers are used in the decisions they make for all of us. So in terms of working with the people, in terms of their cooperation, for which we're very grateful, the end product of that is data that allows policymakers to make better decisions for people like yourself and myself and all of us in general in various areas.
And how do we know that the person looking for the information is actually CSO and is official?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I would say to all your listeners is that all our field interviewers carry identification. And I would encourage, of course, anybody who receives a call or a visit to their house to check and ask for that identification. Our interviewers who are very professionally trained would be more than happy to produce and show that identification. We have a low call number, 1890 252 293. Again, people are welcome to ring that number, and we can work with them in terms of making sure that the interviewers who are engaging with them are genuine.
And they can ask, because the thing about these surveys, and I had one of them, I did one of them myself, they can be very wide ranging, and sometimes you're thinking like, why are they asking me this? But as you say, it's to help policy making.
Yes, so I mean, our statistics, which are all available at cso.ie, our website, you can see that there's a huge range of data collected from households. So, you know, we collect data on what we would refer to as the labour force survey. So essentially statistics about the number of persons employed, unemployed, what activities they're doing in terms of their jobs, statistics on what's referred to as the survey on income and living conditions, so people's income, whether they're, you know, in poverty or not, the use of ICT technologies in the home, crime statistics, cross-border shopping. So there's a huge variety, and all these statistics are actively used both nationally And indeed, we also report statistics for Ireland. We are the responsible national authority to report statistics for Ireland to Europe. And so you actually have a suite of statistics that go right across Europe in terms of the things you hear as well.
And how do you decide who to contact?
So we would, there would be statistical methods used essentially. So we would select houses randomly in terms of being representative across the country. Obviously, so we do a census, as people might be aware, there's a census due again in April 2021. We do a census at this point in time every 5 years in Ireland. And from that, we then follow up and we select houses for selection. But the cost of a census is very large. So a census runs, I think, approximately 60 million euro to conduct the census from start to finish. So it's not plausible to conduct a census each and every year. So instead what you do in a statistical world like this is that you take a sample of houses. So we draw a sample of just over 30,000 houses and we interview them, for example, in the Labour Force survey every quarter. And from that we then produce statistics which are representative of all of us.
You're a senior statistician, which is a word I can never say, and I'm not saying it again, but that's your job. It must be fascinating for somebody like yourself to see this information being collated and what it tells you.
Yeah, I would genuinely encourage people to go to the website and to look and examine the suite of statistics. Our website as well has changed over recent years. I suppose, like any of us, the value of data has become more and more recognised in society, and we hear this constantly. And the evolution of jobs, if I go back to the Labour Force survey, so data scientists now and the whole analytics industry itself, and we're the national independent, I suppose, advisor from the point of view of what we do in terms of the suite of statistics we produce. I would say trust is hugely important to us. So the one thing as well I would, if I could say to your householders first to thank them, or your listeners to firstly thank them for their cooperation in terms of the surveys. We are aware that everyone is under time pressure nowadays. We're all in the same situation, but it is hugely important. So to thank them and to say to them that trust for us is so important, and the statistics that are supplied to us are really guarded and are really managed very closely from the point of view of how we operate, because trust is an absolute principle of what we do.
And just to clarify, I mean, obviously if somebody comes to the door, you can ask for identification and clear that up. But if you get a call, is it this 1890 number that people say, can you ring me back in 2 minutes? I just want to check this out. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course you can. You can ring back the 1890 to confirm it. Now, the calls we make to people are generally are pretty much exclusively follow-up calls. So in our first visit for some of our surveys, we will ask your permission to follow up with the telephone call. So you would be aware in advance, and we give you the options in terms of what time of the day, etc. And also, I suppose, our field interviews, because again, I am conscious of your listeners, maybe elderly listeners and listeners in general. Our interviewers would be branded with CSO, so they're generally blue coats on, or they would have high-vis jackets. Obviously, unfortunately, with the time of the year and it being dark in the evening so early in terms of visibility and the identification, and it's the professional nature of our interviewers. But of course, in any circumstance, I would obviously encourage listeners to engage with us and to confirm in terms of the people who are calling to the door. So
really you won't get a cold caller going, hi, I'm from the CSO, answer these load of questions about your personal life or whatever. You won't get that.
We don't do that. It's the telephone calls are follow-up calls that are made. And in fact, on an ongoing basis, we recruit people, so people might even be aware of recruitment campaigns. And some of those recruitment campaigns are for field interviewers in terms of the job that they conduct for us. OK, Brian, thanks very much for talking to me. You're very welcome, and thank you very much for the time and indeed your cooperation when you said that you participated in one of our surveys. We are very grateful for such participation. No problem. You are welcome back to the programme. Please give a mention to Ballysaggart Hurlers and their fantastic supporters, as this texter, who've given us endless memories over the last few weeks. Yesterday wasn't their day, but they truly represented their community and county with great heart and pride. Looking forward to next year. What a fantastic group of lads, says the texter. I was just talking to you earlier on about Disney in the Grafton Quarter in Dublin, who want to close off their porch, basically, of the entrance to their shop, because homeless people are sleeping in it, and they just find it a bit difficult when staff are coming into work. Sometimes there's a bit of aggro from people, and they find it difficult, and they've sought permission to block off that entrance. And a lot of the shops, I'm sure the shops around
around Waterford as well where people sleep. And the question I was asking you is, should they just leave it open because it's a bit of shelter for people who maybe don't have any shelter, or is it not up to Disney to try and deal with the homeless crisis, and they're quite entitled to block off their porch, and you can't have staff coming in stepping over people trying to get into work. And this texter says people should not have to sleep in doorways. Well, yeah, we know that. How must the staff feel? I know I would be upset to see people every day living in these conditions. No matter what people do, they can't change. If you can give money, food, tea or coffee all day, but what is needed is homes. The government need to change. Same with families living in hotels, etc. Change is needed. That's another thing that would exercise me and drive me mad. The cost of people keeping families in hotels far outweighs sometimes the cost that it would, the little bit of extra they might need to pay for rent or something like that. It's just, I'm telling you, the world's gone mad the way the money is allocated. Absolutely mad. Heather Kiley is not gone mad. She's sitting here very sane in front of me. She's with the Sacred Heart Family Resource Centre, and she's in studio with me. Now, you're very welcome. Thanks very much for coming in. Social prescribing. First of all, what the hell is social prescribing, please?
So thanks, Maria, for the opportunity to come in and talk to you. Social prescribing, essentially, it's not really a new concept. It's been, I suppose there's been a framework put around it. So social prescribing is where social supports are put in place for somebody that might be feeling isolated or disconnected from their community or lonely. And that's kind of the basic version. Really, it's about trying to reconnect people back within their community. So, for instance, you might have somebody that would have been caring for a loved one over a period of time, and that person could have passed. So then you're left with somebody who had a daily routine where they cared for somebody else, everything revolved around that, and now they're sitting there and they're going, well, what do I do now? Where's my time? They're feeling their grief.
There's a lot of people like that.
Absolutely. They're feeling their loneliness. They may have maybe stopped seeing friends because they were needed at home or whatever. So now it's like, how do they get back into the community? So they come and they see the social prescriber. So you can self-refer. You can be referred through your GP. I have to say the GPs in Waterford have been really supportive, as have all the primary care teams of our service. And you'll come and you'll meet with the social prescriber. They'll sit down and have a chat about, what your areas of interest are. And then bit by bit what they'll do is they'll try and connect you into something that could be an area of interest. So that could be a community group. Some people have gone on to do social farming, which is supposed to be wonderful and very therapeutic. There's also been where people might have retired from work or could be unemployed and they feel they're devalued and they want to feel like they still have a value and they want to contribute. So they get into volunteering. Social prescriber will assist them to do that. Sometimes it's about having the confidence to make that connection into something within your community, or the help to find something that suits your personal, I suppose, area of interest.
Because is it a case of to use those skills that you might have learned and acquired as you minded a person for years, or is it to just get you out of yourself?
Well, it's I suppose it's or is it multi-stranded? So there are people who it is about continuing to do that because they feel they have something to give. But equally, there are people who are so isolated and lonely and their mental health has been severely impacted. And I suppose essentially social prescribing is about supporting positive well-being and mental health, and as I said, good connections into the social. So you can go to your doctor, you can get a prescription for medication, you could be referred on to somebody for a consultation, and this is really what social it does what it says on the tin. It's a prescription to go and visit the social prescriber, who will then try and connect you into a social activity.
Because sometimes I'd say people think that they're depressed, or they think that they're ill, or they think there's something wrong with them, and really all they need is maybe a purpose or to feel that they're needed in some way.
Oh, absolutely. Or feel connected to something or part of something, to be a participant, to find new friends, to feel like your opinion matters or your experience matters or your voice. And I think social prescribing allows for that to happen.
So it's basically volunteering, but you're assisted in, is it? Or is there
No. Volunteering is only one part of it, and that's for people who'd like to volunteer. That's to get connected in. That's just one avenue. It's just so much more than that. So we would have people who would be connected in, as I mentioned, to social farming. That's a very therapeutic approach to people working on a farm. There's a number of them in Waterford that I suppose allow for people to be referred into their farm, and they help out with the animals or the chores or whatever it is. But it's that sense of purpose, being connected to the land and the environment. Then there are people who, something as simple, there was a lady who loved to play Scrabble. And was in early onset dementia, and was struggling with that, and was saying, I'd love to find someone to connect in with, that could do that, and it would help her with her brain function and the like. And she was referred in, I believe there's a Scrabble group in Arkeen Library.
That's brilliant.
Other people, it's a women's group. It could be Shine. It can be any number of the mental health organisations that are around, if that's what people are, that's the area that's agreed is the need. So essentially people have up to 6 visits with the social prescriber, so you can try something, be connected into something, and then if the social prescriber will link in and say, well, how did you find that, and you say, well, it was all right, but I don't know if it's for me. Well, then there's an opportunity to try something else as well.
And I'd say anyone listening who would love to do it, but maybe they're shy or they think there's nothing in it for them. I really hate when people don't try to do something because they're kind of assuming an outcome, if you like. I think anyone, if you even have an inkling that this could be for you, go and try, because it could revolutionise your life.
And this is it. I think the social prescribing is about opening doors for people who are too nervous to go and join a group on their own, or they're unsure of what's around for them. So we've struggled financially, I suppose, to keep this project going. It's been up and down. We used Healthy Ireland Fund and Waterford LCDC and Healthy Waterford were very supportive in getting social prescribing off the ground in Waterford, and Sacred Heart Family Resource Centre then said we'd host it, so we managed the worker. We were delighted earlier this year, a couple of months ago, to get Sláinte Care funding, which meant we can continue with the city service, and we're about to extend to the county. As a matter of fact, 2 new workers just started this morning. So a number of people would have, over 200 people have accessed the service since April of 2018. And we're delighted to think that we can actually offer that support and that service out into the county in the future. Hopefully.
How do they get in touch with you, Heather?
So the number for the service at the moment, as it stands, is 089 250 1413. And that's for the city-based service. And you can also contact social prescribing at sacredheartfrc.ie. And you will be able to contact the county coordinator through that at the moment as well. But we will have, I suppose we'll be announcing contact details as they come up.
Okay, Heather Kiley of the Sacred Heart Family Resource Centre, thanks very much for joining me. Just a couple of things to do before I wrap up this on the subject of vouchers and gift cards and things. I got a gift card for €100 last Christmas for a restaurant in town. I must have thrown the voucher out in the Christmas card it was in. When I went into the restaurant, they didn't have the number or the voucher of the name written on it, so I was told I was at a loss of the €100. So I just had to pretend the person who gave me the voucher I'd gone and the meal was fab. I love that you're more concerned about their reaction to the fact that you lost the voucher than you are about that you basically threw €100 in the bin. I think that's so nice. You must be a really nice person, but that is absolutely infuriating. And Tom in Tramore says the government made a balls of it by getting rid of bedsits in the boom. They were cheap and cheerful, but people were happy in them, says Tom in Tramore. Couldn't agree with you more.